The date is Friday, October 29th, and you're listening to Entertain This, a thought-provoking podcast encapsulating all things entertainment. In this spooky Halloween episode, we're writing a scary story live on the air in the form of a horror movie. Sounds simple enough, but there are some core elements derived from our astrological charts that we have to keep in mind. So enjoy.
Welcome, travelers, to the spookiest show on the internet encapsulating all things entertainment. You know it, you love it. It's Entertain This.
Entertain This.
Welcome to our very spooky, scary Halloween episode. As always, I'm one of your intrepid hosts. I'm Count Alex Sula.
I'm Michael.
I'm Nick.
And the fact that no one's playing along makes me want to quit doing the podcast.
No, it's great. Keep going. I love it.
I cannot keep up this voice forever. I wanted you to also have spooky characters that you were playing.
What would be my spooky character?
I don't come up. I came up with. I'm already Count Alex Ula, so
That's
clearly
good.
I'm already
Nick,
a
yes,
vampire.
Yes, and.
So anyways, I guess I'll be a werewolf. Yes,
Okay.
and.
Okay, you're a werewolf now. Name your werewolf and do a spooky voice.
Well, it's a full moon tonight, but I'm not in contact with the moon.
Okay, so you're just like a person right now?
I'm just a regular person. But if the moon
Okay,
hit me,
great.
I'd be a
So what
werewolf.
is your werewolf name?
Oh, it's Toll House.
Toll House, no werewolf. A pleasure to make your acquaintance. I am Count Alex Ula, one of the intrepid hosts of Entertain This. And who might you be, third traveler and stranger?
Oh, God. I don't know anymore.
Come on, come up with something. We're
Shit,
too far into this bit now.
You can't pull out of the bit
You
now.
can't back out.
Dr. Reese's monster? I don't know.
You're Dr. Reese, so you're Dr. Reese's monster, who they will forever mistakenly call Reese's.
Yes.
Dr. Reese's monster.
Tell us about yourself, Reese's.
I don't know. I'm big. I don't fit in well in social atmospheres.
It's an awkward monster.
Are you made of dead people or possibly chocolate and peanut butter?
You know, some days. Some days.
What?
Not all the time, just some days.
The fact that you aren't committing 100% to this bit is a little insulting to me, Count Alex Ula.
This is insane.
Fuck.
Anyway, that's a 3-minute cold open, so I think we did our due diligence.
Oh, my face already hurts.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Hello.
Thank you for choosing to at least spend an hour of it listening to our idiotic ramblings. And if you're listening in the future, just know that this is still an episode you can listen to at any point of the year. This is about the energy we bring to every episode, and it makes about this much sense every time. So the good news is you're not being left behind if you are just now getting acquainted with Count Alexula, Reese's, Dr. Reese's monster, and Toll House. The werewolf, because Nick can't name an animal after anything but food. I've learned.
It's true. It's true. I have a dog named Toffee, a cat named Cookie,
and now you're Toll House, the werewolf.
Nestle Toll House, yeah.
Toll
Okay.
House.
Toll House. Now, you may be asking yourself why I'm holding an axe. Well, if our cold open didn't sell it, this is our spooky episode.
Mm-hmm.
And
You're just holding it menacingly, like.
I've got a gun. It's in my hand, but I'm never gonna mention it.
it's the opposite of Chekhov's gun. It's Check-on's gun. It's my check-on gun. Anyway, so we're gonna do a special Halloween episode today. A sort of funeral for a friend from my perspective. because recently a podcast that I had grown to love decided to finally shut its doors and premiere its last episode this year. That podcast is called Story Break. And Story Break is a writer's room podcast where three friends attempt to break a story over an hour in seemingly impossible topics. Like they did one on Jar Jar Binks. They did a Jar Jar Binks story.
Ooh.
Yeah, and they did one on like the Monopoly board game, but it's a movie. So Monopoly the movie.
Oh, I like that.
So they have a bunch of really great episodes. You guys should go listen to them. This is my shout out to them because we're about to completely steal what they do for the next hour as we try to write a horror movie of our own. Now, this is coming off the coattails of me like binge watching Halloween from 1978, Halloween from 2018, and the new Halloween Kills. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I just watched them. So now I'm like, oh, let's write a horror movie. So that's what mindset I'm in going into this. But we have a couple of cool caveats that we'll get into. Before we do, Michael and Nick, how do you guys feel about spooky, scary movies?
I haven't seen a horror movie in probably 7 or 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. What was the last one?
No idea. No idea.
Okay. Go. Just guess. Give me a guess.
Five Nights at Freddy's.
Oh God, what
Not a
would
movie.
it have been?
It's a
It
video
would
game.
have been, I think, one of the Paranormal Activities.
Okay.
Yeah.
That clocks.
Yeah.
So we're at a bit of a disadvantage because one of our legs are broken. Michael's hasn't seen a horror movie since Paranormal Activity, but I think we could still use you in a writing room sense.
Yes. Yeah, he's good
I
for
can bring
bouncing
a-
things off of.
I could bring a fresh new perspective.
We love
He
that.
likes that. He's very
Okay,
good.
Nick, where are you at in this world?
Nick? No, yeah, I don't. We're not real big fans of horror in this house.
Okay. There's no horror in this house. There's no horror in
No.
this house.
No, wet ass eyes. Is that doesn't make any sense. Anyways,
Okay.
I don't think I've really watched any horror movies in the past. Well, I never really seek them out, but if they're on TV, you click on it and then you immediately regret it.
Mhm.
That's pretty much me.
So have you guys not seen Midsummer?
What? I don't even know what that is.
Oof. So Midsummer was a very popular horror film that came out. It kind of gave a new take to horror. Actually, believe it or not, Michael, The Green Knight is a horror movie.
Technically,
Yeah, of sorts.
yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Let me put a frame around this. Okay. I don't like horror games to begin with either. Like Amnesia. Remember
Ooh,
that game?
I do like a good horror game.
Nope.
Well,
I couldn't finish it.
Inspiration from
Couldn't.
horror games as well. You finished what was that one that you just played, Nick? You played through it. It's based on SCPs. What's it called?
Oh, Control.
You played Control. Control is definitely a horror game.
That was softcore horror, I'd say.
That's fine.
Psychological thriller.
Yes. Yeah. It was more of a thriller as opposed to like jump scare central.
Well, I will happily captain this boat and bring it into shore as we discuss horror movies and write our own short horror film on this episode of
Okay.
Entertain This.
Wonderful. So
I said it, so that was the intro. So now we're
Nice.
getting into the meat of it. So for the meat of it, go
yeah.
ahead.
So how do we get started? How do we even like start writing one?
So
How do
there
we
are
do
a
a
couple.
story?
There are a couple of ways that we could do this. We could blank slate it, which is like starting from nothing, or we can pull in our fact checker Chloe, and she's got a pre-set up prompt to give us an idea of a couple of mystery mouse tools we can use to help us get this horror film off the ground. She will explain further, but she's going to give us some things that we're going to have to incorporate into this script.
Okay, I like
I
that.
like that. I like not
So-
having to come up with everything on my own.
Let's pull in Chloe. Chloe collected some survey data from us before the show started, and the fact checking that she's about to do is actually fact checking us. She's telling fun facts about us, the three hosts of this show.
Hello, podcast.
Hello.
Hi, Chloe.
That intro slaps. I wasn't
It's
expecting
pretty
it.
great.
I was like,
It had been a while, so I figured it was time to hit the
I was
little
ready
button.
for it too.
Wow.
Good old Chloe intro.
So these prompts are, we can thank the Twitter account Magstrology at
Nice.
Magstrology, Astro Memes for Evil Teens.
I love that.
They created kind of like tag yourself horror movie template where your sun, moon, and rising in terms of your natal chart will equal a subgenre of horror, a setting for it, and then some additional element. Ooh. So using your birthdays, which is classified information, I can provide a prompt for each of you, and if there's some astrology freak out there that really wants to like reverse engineer the math, you'll figure out their birthdays. But obviously some of the information is like where they were born and what time. Like I think you're never going to find out.
I think a simple Google search and Facebook search would
if it's on your Facebook, then.
Yeah, I think anybody can kind of figure out our birthdays if they wanted to. So you can probably just go ahead and lay out our charts if you would like.
That's fair.
Just our birth dates, not anything else.
So I guess my question is, whose prompt would you like to start with?
Let's do Alex's because he knows all the astrology stuff.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So, Alex, you have an Aquarius sun, a Leo rising, and a Gemini moon.
The Leo rising is like bravery, right? Like Gryffindor?
You're very brave and you're very outgoing and you're very self-confident.
Harvey Dent.
Which is all true.
Oof.
No, in a good way.
Okay, great.
Not a bad way.
So since your sun is Aquarius, your subgenre of your horror movie is sci-fi.
Ooh. So we need to write this down somewhere. We have a way to do it.
I love sci-fi.
So the way that we're gonna do this is, basically everything that Chloe is about to give us, we have to work into this film somehow. So this film is gonna have some form of sci-fi element. It doesn't have to be completely sci-fi, but it's gonna have some form of sci-fi element involved.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now your Leo rising, that's an element that the movie entails. For you, it's the 80s.
Ooh, okay.
Ooh, okay.
This should be my
Stop being jealous.
So far we're just writing aliens.
Yes.
So far, yes. The last one's gonna kind of blow that up though.
If we have two time periods, then we're gonna have to do like a flashback kind of a thing. Like work in like flashback or time travel.
There are no other time periods in the other charts. I don't know if you wanted to incorporate them all together or do each movie separately, but
we're doing them all together, so that means this movie's taking place in the 80s.
Okay.
All
1980.
It might get a little messy.
Yeah,
because each one has a setting. You know what I mean?
That's okay. We're gonna work it out.
Okay, I love it.
Put it in a blender. We'll mix it up.
Your moon is the setting for the movie. Your Gemini moon is a college campus.
Okay. So some scenes are going to happen on a college campus, but maybe not the whole movie is how we're going to make that work.
An 80s college campus. All right. I like it.
It's sci-fi.
So sci-fi.
They're doing some experimenting in the
Nutty Professor is my movie. Okay.
I don't know if anyone would call that a sci-fi.
Let's hear Michael and Nick.
Okay. Michael, your sun is a Capricorn. So your subgenre is haunted place.
Ooh, a haunted college campus, maybe.
The movie's writing itself.
Most college campuses are pretty haunted. Yeah. Especially the ones along like the East Coast. Those are spooky. Your rising is Aquarius. So your element is that it's set in the future.
Ooh. All right.
Which can mean whatever you want it to mean. Maybe it's 5 years in the future. Who's to say? Your moon is Pisces.
Hear me out real quick. What if we did a retro futuristic thing?
We can't start yet. We can't start yet.
So hear me out. Let's let Chloe finish.
All right. So your Pisces moon means that your setting is high school.
All right.
Okay.
So we've got a college and a high school. Maybe they're growing up in the movie.
Yeah. Okay. I like where this is going.
Yeah. Like it's like an It. How they're like two different chapters.
Okay. Last but not least, Nick, you have a Leo sun, so your subgenre is vampire movie.
Ooh. Okay.
Your Aquarius rising, which is also Michael's rising, adorable, means that it is set in the future. So that one's kind of a double up.
Yep.
Okay.
And you have an Aquarius moon, so your setting is a hospital.
Okay.
All right.
That's
All
haunted.
right. All right.
Spooky,
All right.
ooky.
Chloe, do you know your rising?
I do.
Give us
I'd have
your
to pull up the-
rising for the one that we're missing because Nick's and Michael's repeated. Because we need all the tools we can get.
Absolutely.
These are mystery mask tools.
So I am a Libra rising, and mine was a trope, which is let's split up.
Okay.
Gotcha. Okay.
So at some
Trope
point,
but not cliche. Or they're the same thing, interchangeably.
they have differences. I think they're subtle. Cliche seems more derogatory than trope.
True.
So I don't know.
All right.
I'm not an expert.
Let's
So
split up.
we're 15 minutes in already to our hour-long podcast. I think we start the hour now, right?
I think that would make sense.
Okay, yeah.
And I think because Chloe hosted last week and would usually be doing a quick this week, we'll hold Chloe's quick this until next week.
Yeah, I think
and we'll devote this entire episode to this.
Cool.
Yes.
Cool.
Sounds good.
Okay, so that's what we're going to do. Let's get this party started.
All right. Have fun, guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye. You can explain all this to me later.
Okay, so let's review.
Yep.
Just before we get started. Here are the things that we have to incorporate into this movie.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be a sci-fi movie, elements of sci-fi, elements of a haunting or haunted place,
Yep.
and elements of vampires.
Yep.
Okay?
Uh-huh.
The time period that we are, or so she said it was like a sort of a cliche. So like let's split up is a cliche. I guess future is also a cliche. Maybe
Yeah,
it's
well,
not
it's-
set in the future. Maybe it's about people who are afraid of the future. Maybe it's about people who are
Maybe.
Okay.
something like that. Because those aren't necessarily settings. They're just kind of elements to play with.
Yeah,
So the
yeah.
future is an element to play with.
Right. So
It doesn't have to be
the
the time.
element of time passing, I think, is a good way to put it.
Yeah. So like when you're a kid, you're like, you're in high school, you're in college, like you're afraid of the future. I know, like, at least for me when I was in college, and like people would graduate and they would come back and visit. They're like, it's like your life is like uphill, and you see a general path to your future, and then you graduate high school or college, and it's just like fall straight into the real world where like nothing is known. Mike, it is weird that your lights flickered during the Halloween
I
episode.
don't know what's going on.
And the lights
fine.
will flicker on and off.
Yeah.
Okay, so
It's
we
a
got
haunted place.
So we got 80s, we got future, we got let's split up. Those are our three cliches that we're going to be working into this movie that we're writing.
Mhm.
Also, I guess shout out to Some Nobodies, who also does a very similar thing to this.
Yep.
So our setting, quote unquote, these are places that we have to involve in the movie. And I think we can add other ones, but these should be our three main settings: is a college campus, a high school, and a hospital.
Okay.
College
All right.
campus, a high school, and a hospital.
So speed run, let's run through everything we got. We got sci-fi elements. We've got haunted house, haunted place elements. We've got vampire elements. And then we've got 80s vibes, future elements,
Mhm,
and let's split up elements, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And then finally, our settings that we're working with are a college campus, a high school, and a hospital. So that's everything.
Yep. I just realized we're basically just writing an episode of Riverdale.
That's kind of true. Or
Yeah.
Twin Peaks, if you would.
Yeah.
Twin Peaks.
Okay, so where to start? I think
Well,
correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like we're writing about a group of friends.
yeah, at the very least. At the very least.
Yeah.
Like
I don't
there
think
is a
this
group
is-
of friends involved here.
This is not the story of one person. This is the story of a group of people.
Yeah, I think so. Very like scary movie 2-esque.
Okay. I
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
Yeah. So I like the idea of like following this group through like high school and college. And like having some sort of like haunted some haunted place experience be like like the thing that kicks off this initial haunting that follows them as they go on throughout their life. So it's like a slow burn haunt.
Okay. What if on the college campus, we have like a sci-fi kind of mad scientist professor guy there, and he has a lab that they all take classes in, and I'm grasping for straws here, but what if what if the there was something that their parents did back in the 80s that caused them to be haunted now?
I think to make
And
this easy, I think this takes place in the 80s.
this can take place in the 80s.
I think it can at least like the initial part take place in the 80s.
I think the best way to work around us having both the 80s and the future that we have to work into this is it's about kids in the 80s who are worried about the future.
Yes. It could be.
I think how do you guys feel going off of what Nick said about the like sci-fi mad scientist at their college thing? How do you guys feel about going an Invisible Man route? Where it's like a science experiment gone wrong creates this thing.
Creates the haunt because
we
don't want to go with the actual.
Maybe it kills the professor.
Thing. Oh,
maybe
the ghost.
Okay.
Or maybe his goal was eternal life through quote unquote, or maybe they have like Project Vampire, which is supposed to like grant eternal life, but it accidentally kills him, and he gets eternal life, but through being a ghost
or being a vampire. A vampiric ghost, if you will. Is that a thing? Can somebody fact
I don't think so.
No,
I think
you're
feels,
either one or the other.
I'm gonna say this probably a couple of times, but that feels lame, and I don't want this to end up being like a lame thing. We're like, oh, that's good enough. Throw it together. Like I want this to be like coherent. I don't think that he can be a ghost vampire.
What if the college professor is doing some like biology experiments in an effort to attain immortality or like pursue that as like a scientific juncture, but loses the experiment in some freak accident, and that ends up causing something or other. It creates like some vampiric entity that is haunting over these children.
Okay.
Yeah, but why are the children connected to this professor?
I don't know, we're getting there.
I think that they're students.
I was just asking plot questions.
Yeah. So here's kind of where my mind first went when we first started this. Maybe we can break pieces off of it because we're going in a different direction. But I had like an idea just at the beginning, and we can break off of this. So keep where we are right now. There's a professor in a college, and these kids who are following, they're his students, and they're doing the science experiment that maybe goes awry.
Yes.
But what I had originally thought was, what if they're high school, like a group of high schoolers who are like goths, right? And they like want so badly to become vampires because like that's like everything that they could ever want is like eternal life, and like everything's involved in death, but the beauty of death, blah, blah, blah. It's like these goth kids who want to be vampires. And in trying to find a way to achieve vampirism, they go to the wrong place. Maybe they go to this college campus where they hear this professor is working on eternal life, right? And
okay, I have a clarifying question to ask.
Go ahead.
Is our premise that we're trying to make like a like legitimately scary movie, or is it to make like almost like a parody of scary movies?
I think we're trying to make a legitimate scary movie.
Okay. All right. So I think there's some basic tenets of like horror movies that we need to like first establish.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah. So I think like one of the really important aspects of like having a good horror movie is having blank slate characters that the audience can put themselves into these characters' shoes to be the people experiencing the horror.
Okay.
I feel like another important one is having the actual horror be something ambiguous.
Yep. Definitely.
That overhangs over top of everything until the last possible minutes for everything to just kind of resolve and for all of that tension to be like snapped.
For someone who hasn't watched horror movies in 6 years, that is genius, Michael. That is absolutely right.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Let's see. What else are some good horror movie tenets?
I think just like a horror movie staple is like the couple who like are so in love and then you have to watch them be separated by this thing in the final act.
Yeah, there it is. Let's split up.
Yeah. Like creating conflict. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, creating, because like the whole thing is like that you should be building this overarching tension through the setting and through like the monster or whatever.
The
but then
payoffs in the last like 20 minutes.
Right, but like the real like conflict comes from interpersonal conflict between the group. Yeah.
It could be
So-
like that classic thing in lab class where you have to find a partner.
Yeah,
And
what if
this
we went
couple
like
always finds each other, right?
what if we went like the full like
Someone's on your side, Mike.
yeah, what's up? What's up, Patricia?
9 on your side.
What if we went like what was the movie? The Thing, where it's like an
Thing?
alien thing that just like takes over people and it becomes the person.
Oh,
Yeah.
possession.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
And we have that be like some sort of like vampiric entity that takes over like one person in the group. And
Yeah.
the whole idea of the movie is like, who's the monster? Like, who actually is the monster?
How do we feel about making it the professor?
We see that coming, you know?
Yeah, I feel like it would be cool. I feel like it would be like more ambiguous if it was like one of the kids in the group.
There you go.
Okay.
And maybe you could switch. Maybe you could switch between kids in the group. It's like, all right, who's possessed now?
Yeah.
So, all right, let's wrap back around to our core tenets. I like this idea of vampirism. I don't think vampirism has to be like classic vampirism like we are aware of, right?
No.
Like vampirism just means feeding off of something, I think. The action or practice of being a vampire, sure. But vampires can like they don't have to feed off of blood. They can feed off of like energy, like they're energy vampires, or like they can feed off of like
negative
your
emotions.
soul, negative emotions, things like that. I like this idea of a vampire who feeds off of youth.
Ooh, yeah.
And
like
especially if this vampire is like trying to, if it has to like be inside of the character to to drink their youth. So it's trying to stay with the group of kids so it can pass along its own vampirism.
Yeah, without fully draining its like easy source of food.
Yeah. So like it's trying to get all the kids, and that's why kids are like disappearing throughout. And they're like, where did this so-and-so go? Where did so-and-so go? Oh, they probably ran off. Oh, they're probably out like schmoozing or whatever. You know, like you're wondering where these people are. And then in the final act, there are only 2 left. And you're like, oh, this guy's not doing good. Or like we give hints of like, here's something that like is evidence of the vampire being inside of you or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could do it like the thing.
And then the vampire's the thing that's haunting over them the whole time.
Yeah. So
you can make that be a thing like the first week of class in college, everyone's there, right? But then as weeks go on, more and more people start dropping out. And you're like, oh, okay, they were up too late last night partying or whatever. But then it's like, uh-oh, these are vampiric slaves of some sort, and they're being energy sucked.
So our Mystery Mouse tool is haunted place specifically.
Yes.
So it's not just like being haunted, it's going to a haunted place. I think, Nick, what you were saying in the beginning that I said we should just set in the 80s, I think you're right. I think this is set in the future. I think the experiment happened in the 80s and the college campus was abandoned. And now these high schoolers are coming here.
Ooh.
Oh, they're coming like an urban exploration type of thing.
Because then we got sci-fi from the experiment gone wrong that happened in the 80s. Check, that's done. The haunted place, check, is the college campus. Check.
Yep.
It's set in the future because we'll start the movie in the 80s and then go to the future where these kids now are. And they're going to go on this adventure where they have to fight this quote unquote vampire who is sucking the youth out of them. Now we have 2 more things. One of them is going to be easy. It's let's split up. That's obviously going to happen. Partially through the movie. But our last setting that we have to work in is a hospital.
Right.
Maybe they could do some sort of blood test on the kids, and they're in a hospital because they're like, oh, why do I feel so drained all the time? First thing the doctor does, gives you a blood test, right? What are you deficient in?
Yeah. Iron deficiency. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's like, well, there's nothing wrong with you. Your blood test results are fine. Any other comments on that?
I don't know. I almost like the idea of like going to the hospital, like after like they've figured out like something is wrong, like something that like we cannot figure out is wrong. So they go to the hospital to get like some sort of like test done or something. And I like the idea of that, like probing from the test being like a trigger for that climax where everything starts to turn to shit.
Okay.
Like,
okay, that's good.
So I do like that. However, just so I can throw it out there and we can ditch it and go right back to this. What if the movie ends in the hospital? What is the absolute scariest thing of all mankind? How'd the Bible end?
Revelations? I don't know.
An apocalypse.
Oh.
This thing has been locked in this college campus, maybe in a vial or something. Right? These kids get it, and then they take it to a hospital. And at the hospital, where there were like 5 kids that this vampire could like feed on at the college campus, quote unquote vampire. Now at this hospital, it's like endless food.
Yeah. What if like, I don't know if I want to do a blood thing. Do you want to do a blood thing?
Let me ask a question real quick, because in a lot of the horror movies that I personally enjoy, the scary thing is just a known scary truth that humankind is always afraid of. And it is a representation or a personification of that. Take like It Follows being a horror movie based around the idea of STDs.
Right.
Right? So it takes STDs and it personifies it into a creature that follows you around. Sure?
Right. That passes between people. Yeah.
Yeah. I would even say that like the 1970s on this idea of like teenage acts of sexuality that are basically done out of wedlock and quote unquote sin, you know, because he only attacks babysitters after they've engaged in some sort of a physical relation with a male of some sort, at least in that movie. That's when Michael Myers comes and, you know, does the stabby stab when that's happening. It also has a lot to do with like trusting, because a lot of people, when they see Michael Myers, they don't go, hey, that's Michael Myers, we should run. They're like, oh, hey, you're so-and-so. Oh, you're my friend. Oh,
you're the pizza delivery guy.
You're just a guy under my sheet, like so-and-so and so and such, you know?
Yeah.
So the point is that most horror movies have this like core fear of human beings that is true and there at all times, true and present at all times. And that's what makes it scary. So if we take our idea of what we had, right, what can we say this vampire represents that is the basis of human fear, or is one of the basis of human fear?
I think we
could and say like the unknown,
or we could do like the fear of aging.
That's a good one. Yeah,
that's a very good one.
Yeah, so like we could have it so that way like the people who the vampire is like inhabiting, they like rapidly age, or like they just age at like an accelerated rate.
Yeah,
as their youth is like taken from them.
Yeah. Almost like a Benji Button situation.
I really like that, because there's a lot of fun things we can play with there.
Sure. Like especially if they like if they get this when they're like kids or something, they're like a lot of the symptoms could be passed off as like, oh, they're just going through puberty early, or like oh, this person's developing soon, like very quickly, and it's like the person's like 13 and is balding, like, and has a mustache.
That's not normal.
So do we think this movie leaves the college campus? I didn't think it did. I thought it all stays on the college campus until the end, where like maybe 2 people escape.
Could it be that the college campus is abandoned and nobody goes there anymore, and they could be like this kind of trendy urban explorer troupe where they go into abandoned places and they're like, oh, I bet this place is haunted, herp derp, or something like that. And like that's what is that called? Red herring, maybe?
I like the idea of them being urban explorer YouTubers, because at the end of the day, what is YouTube but trying to like create your own legacy and like document your own existence?
So are we saying this could like pretty easily be like a found footage film?
Ooh,
that's good.
I wasn't, but now I am.
Yeah.
Like
I think this could very easily be the next like Blair Witch.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say. I think that found footage is something that was like overused for a long time, but nowadays isn't used as much. I think this is found footage, Michael. I think you're right.
Yeah, I think it's a good premise.
Cell phone cameras and ring lights and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, like almost, oh, this could also be like an ARG where it's like all of this stuff is like sequentially posted to like TikTok or something.
You're
and
right.
then what's going on here? And then
Yeah,
Alex
yeah.
will figure it out.
So I think we have enough that we can start like scene by scene hashing this out. Start getting pen to paper. I think this starts with like flickering projector, like old 80s like movie from like a Super 8 camera, right? Sorry for anyone listening who, when I said old 80s film, got sad. I know that some people probably did.
Some people like film. You can leave.
But like Super 8 camera, right?
Okay.
And it's the professor doing the experiments. And what they're trying to figure out is like it's that eternal chase for like endless youth. It's the philosopher's stone, you know?
Yeah.
They're trying to crack the case. And it is a professor and his group of students in this college campus, and they're going over the science of stuff and talking about like how this creature works and how it's a symbiotic relationship between host and creature, and it keeps you young, right?
Yeah.
And it works for a while.
I like the idea of this being like those segments from Control Nick, where it's the professor like explaining what this is supposed to do.
Oh God, I love those.
Yeah.
Casper Darling, when he's like, "Hey guys,"
yeah. It's like him trying to like present through this film with his students what this is supposed to be, what it's supposed to do, presenting it in nothing but a positive light.
Yeah,
and then it's just like cold, like fade to black. Like
or they do like the fade out music, like the fight song from the college at the end, and it's super like crackly and tape.
Yeah, and it's then it like goes into like the school was abandoned, like in and the project was abandoned along with it.
Yeah, government funding got pulled for whatever reason.
I was stuck on the creature because I didn't know what the creature was or how they got it.
It's a creature now. Okay.
I think, hear me out. I think this like mystery liquid vampire creature that they're dealing with in the future, I don't think that's what the experiment was. I think the experiment was an actual like potion, vial, a formula that makes you young, right? I think the professor takes it, and I think it works too well. I think it makes him young, but then it starts draining his life. And slowly the professor becomes this beast, right? It becomes this like sludgy symbiote looking like goo ball.
Yeah, like
right?
no one volunteers for his experiment, so he uses it on himself.
Or even the whole class volunteers, and maybe the monster is more than one. Maybe there's like a whole, like that's why this place is abandoned, is because they couldn't eradicate like this class of goo monsters who are sucking the youth out of people, because that's what this formula implants in you, is this need to like feed off of being young.
I almost like the idea of like they all took it as almost like a cult like situation, like a doomsday cult situation. Yeah. And what it ended up doing is taking them all and turning them into this like prenatal goop that had to gestate and grow back over time.
And the only way that they've found to be like their younger selves again were to basically become symbiotic with another host. And then they were able to control that host body until it was completely fed through.
Yeah.
So suppose this. What if it wasn't goo, or what if it was like a black sludge mold type of thing?
I love that.
I like
it doesn't have to be goo.
Yeah.
I like mold for sure. I like the idea
mold
of
is
like,
everywhere. But
mold is something that could easily be in an abandoned college.
Yeah. And here the other thing is, we only need one of these kids to be infected by this quote unquote mold for like the spawn to place themselves in the mind of one student, and for that student to trick all of the other students into also becoming inhabited by these mold creatures.
Yeah,
like a double dog dare you to lick that petri dish over there.
So
something like that, you know.
I think it's gonna come down to I think it's gonna start with them introducing this like formula. I think it's gonna be like a presentation to a board. I think the board's not going to approve for human testing, even though they think they're ready. I think the professor actually is going to get fired because of the moral reasons why human testing shouldn't have been granted to this like experiment. And in getting fired, I think we're going to have like a found footage kind of weird Dead Poet Society moment where the class is like, well, we stand with you, professor. if they don't want us like testing on humans, then we'll test it on ourselves. And like they all take it at once, like, and the professor's like so happy that the professor takes it. And then we see like them documenting how it's going for a little bit until like it starts going terribly wrong. And then I think at that point we're lights up on whoever our main quote unquote character, really in most horror movies, this would be the survivor who we start the film off with. So we'll just,
I almost like the idea of like, instead of like directly showing like time after time after time, just having like a fade to black immediately after they take it, and like leaving that whole situation of what they becoming like something super ambiguous.
Yes.
I do like that.
Yeah. So that way it's like you basically are just like then taken directly into this found footage section of like high school YouTubers going into this abandoned building. And it's like you know that there's something bad in here. Like, you know, something bad happened in here, but you don't know what it is.
I do like that. So let's mark off some characters for our main group. I think we're going to have a main guy, because
you just need a main guy. That's
no, we don't need a main guy. It could be a girl. I mean, if you wanted to.
Main person?
The reason I say main guy is because I like the idea of this starting with like a guy turning on a camera and his friend's the one who's like talked him into this. So like another idiot's like sitting there on the floor, like sleeping, and he like turns on the camera, he like kicks the kid, right?
Yeah.
He's like, wake up. Like, we got to go right now. Like my parents are coming back in town like tomorrow. We got to go tonight, whatever. So on and so forth.
These are high schoolers, right?
I think these are high schoolers, but I think they're younger high schoolers. I don't think.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, and like the thing with the found footage maybe too is like the survivor is usually also the cameraman. Like, so it would be the person behind the camera who is our main person.
Suppose it was the person. We could even say it's filmed by selfies, you know?
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's a cameraman. You could actually just have the phone out like that.
Yeah, you could.
I like the idea of us like having like the portrait that like as he turns it like turns to a landscape.
There you go.
Like on the like movie screen, like it's portrait, and then he turns it and it like switches like an iPhone does to landscape, that animation. And he's like filming his friend, and he's like, come on, man, we got to get up. Like we got stuff to do. And it like cuts to them like riding their bikes. Just like choppy editing, like switches straight to them riding their bikes up to like this group of people like sitting on a porch, and it's like it's like a Goonie style group of kids.
Yeah. And you could even have, if you wanted to have a survivor out of this whole ordeal, it could be the phone itself.
Yeah.
Because it's the thing that's like, it's going to be the only thing that survives this, obviously, because it's not organic. It's just this thing that's always recording. And you could have like the end scene be a phone dropping on the floor, and you hear screams in the background or something like that.
We have to make it clear that these are YouTubers and like urban explorers. So I think that also happens in that first scene. They're like, he's like showing the like view count to his friend. He's like, see, look, like, and then like we were like hiking up this like water tower, and like, look, check out this video. And like he's showing videos to him on his computer. And then like he's like, yeah, we could totally film one of these. Like, yeah, totally, let's do it. And then they go and meet up with the rest of the group of people. That way we get that exposition. So they get to this group of people. I think there are 5. I think there are 3 guys, 2 girls. Thoughts?
Yeah, sure. Why not? I'm sure they're all going to have names and backstories and all this.
Sure. I think we have the 2 friends, right? We have our camera guy is kind of shy, kind of geeky. But he's friends with this like loudmouth, kind of dumb guy who's like he's like lovable, but he's dumb, like, and he's loud. Those are the things we know about him so far.
And he's a basic YouTuber, so.
And then we've got 2 girls. We've got the like nice, sweet, caring one, and then we got the mean one, of course. Like the mean, not like mean as in like Mean Girls on Broadway. Yeah. Like mean, like she's just like says what she wants, doesn't care what people say. Mean.
Right. Yeah, cool. Like we could definitely pull in like YouTuber tropes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then
what's up, you guys? There's our trope. There you go.
I think the other kid is a younger brother. And I think his problem is like he never pays attention. He's always on his phone. He's like playing Minecraft, he's playing Fortnite on his phone.
Ooh, and I like him being like kind of a what was that movie about the monsters that like reacted to sound? with Jim from The Office.
Quiet Place?
The Quiet Place. Kind of like,
Is that it?
I like the idea of like a Quiet
Bird
Place
Box?
situation where it's like the tiny little younger brother becomes like the first victim
It's just him.
because he's
Nobody
like just
cares
not
about him.
paying attention.
Yeah.
Or,
I agree.
Yeah. And
You
it
mess
like
around and
I
find
like
out.
the idea of setting up this relationship between like where it's like a brother and a younger brother where it's like they actually have a very good relationship.
Mhm.
But
I kind of thought it was going to be the nice girl's younger brother.
sure, I don't know. I was just throwing things out there.
Yeah, it can be anyone's brother.
Yeah, it could be,
my
but I
brother.
like the idea of there being like this strong sibling relationship for that to be like ripped away in the beginning.
There you
Okay,
go.
I think we do have to make these older kids, especially with the whole like draining youth thing.
Yeah.
Oh no.
No, young
I
kid.
like it better that they're young because then the like
They have
I
the
like
youth.
this scene where the nice girl's younger brother is the first to like get caught, right?
Yeah.
And he's aged to now be older than everybody else.
Right.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Right?
And like at first it's like almost kind of like a Shazam situation where it's like, whoa, it's so cool. What happened? Like, whoa, like, and then it's just like he slowly just be like deteriorates, like the wrinkles get pulled back and like some more and more sunken, and it's like he starts losing his hair, developing like splotches on his skin, his teeth start falling out, and yeah.
How do we
Oh.
feel about instead of showing his transition, he wanders off and they're looking for him, and that's like a big plot point. And then one of the
Yeah.
rising actions is that they find this old man, and they're like, "Who's this old man?" And he like can't remember anything. He doesn't know where he is. He's like
Yeah.
geriatric. And they're like trying to help this old man. They think like he's a homeless guy or something. And then at the end of it, like when he finally fades to dust and like bursts into literal spores, because that's I imagine how
Yeah.
this has traveled. His clothes fall to the ground and like his phone with his like Super Mario case rolls out of his pocket, and
Oof.
they're like, "Oh shit!" Like
yeah,
this
yeah,
was
yeah. And that
so-and-so.
losing the little brother also does like provide good motivation for them to stay in the school.
Yes, and that's going to be another huge thing. And the school is also the place where we're going to get a lot of the exposition, because I think a lot of the stuff is going to be left from the 80s, where like all of the writings on the wall and like different like recording apparatuses that they can play through and stuff like that. This would be a really good video game.
Yeah.
Okay,
Ooh.
so we got these characters, and they're all going to go on this urban explorer thing because they're all chasing clout, honestly.
Yep.
And I
There
think
you go.
the
There's
two
the
girls, I
explanation.
think the
Great.
two girls are TikTok dancers, honestly.
They gotta be. They're, like,
and I think-
dancing on a kicked open door. Like
Inspiration from us, I think this is like their Halloween special, right? They're trying to get clicks by doing a Halloween special.
That's too
So they're
meta.
like,
Stop
we're
it.
gonna go to this, we're gonna go to this haunted campus.
Sorry,
Right.
I just thought about like the survivor like killing the monster in the end and just like Fortnite dancing over his dead body.
yeah, doing the floss.
What if the little brother can't stop fucking Fortnite dancing? And they're like, please.
Oh no.
I think there's definitely going to be a couple dabs in here. Anyway,
I don't know. I feel like if like for a reality situation, like making this movie actually good, you have to make the little brother like you have to make it so that like he feels like you want to protect him and you want to like love him and you just want to like keep him safe in those
Yeah,
like
I think
first
he's-
few minutes.
I honestly think he's thanking like the older people. He's like, thanks so much for letting me come. I know it's like not great. Like, I
Yeah.
think like he's thanking them for all of
Yeah,
this.
like he's the opposite of like an annoying little brother character. He's like
Yeah, he's like
actually-
super appreciative to be a part of this group.
yeah, and everyone in the group like really likes him. Yeah,
Yeah,
And I
he's a
think
little
our
awkward at
nerdy,
times,
I
but
think
he
our
comes
nerdy
along.
kid has a crush on the nice girl, and he's trying to get in good with the brother. So he's like watching him, like keeping him on his arm, like, and like there's this really nice relationship between those two.
yeah.
The nerdy kid's also the cameraman, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
I think there are going to be some selfies here. So they continue on. I think our next scene's probably going to happen in like a library of some sort, and I think that's where they're going to like point out like a big map sprawled out on a library table, right? And they're pointing out all the places like that they've already recorded, and they're like, there's only one left, it's our white whale. And he's like, no, it's not, we can't go there, it's not safe. He's like, it's our last one, like it's the last one in this town that we can do, like we've done everything else, we have to go to the campus, like we have to go to this college
Mhm.
campus. He's like, there's security there. Like, they're constantly watching the place. There's like barbed wire fences that we're going to have to crawl through and like all this stuff. And I think we get like an Ocean's 11 kind of plan to break into this campus.
But like in a shitty kid's way. Yeah.
In like a shitty kid's way. Yeah. And of course it goes exactly how you would think it would. They sneak in, they like almost get caught by the guards. And we have that like found footage where like the guards like shine the flashlight. He's like, hey, stay out of here. Get out of here, freaking kids, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a Halloween rite of passage to sneak into this place. Maybe that's why they have to go to the college.
No, I feel like if it was a Halloween rite of passage thing, that someone would have already run into this and it'd be a bigger problem.
Yeah.
I feel like it's got to be like, no one's gone in and done this. Like, we got to be the first ones.
Yeah.
Or maybe like every Halloween they've recorded one of these videos or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or it could just be like, it could just be the notion too of like a bunch of kids like wanting to become popular on the internet, so they go and do something stupid.
I like that.
Sounds really familiar.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why.
Funny. Yeah, I like that a lot. I think so. They sneak in.
Yeah, where did we leave off? They got the kids.
Sneak in.
Yeah.
All right, they're sneaking in.
They make it into this. We only have 10 minutes left, so they make it.
We got 25 minutes. We started.
Oh, we got 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Great. So
you
so
can do a recap for the people that are ADD.
Sure. For the people who are ADD, let's do a little recap. So
don't forget what we're talking about.
I want to name these kids. Can we name these kids? I want to name these kids. Nerdy boy.
Nerdy kid. Alex. No.
Great. Nerdy kidding. Boy's name is Alex. That's canon.
No, it's
now.
not. It doesn't
Loud
have to be.
boy. That's going to be Nick for sure. Great.
Who said I'm loud?
Now we got nice girl. What's her name going to be? Something flowery, I feel. Like Delilah or like a...
Oh, I like that.
You like Delilah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey there, Delilah.
Hey there, Delilah. Yep. Whatever. That's probably how you spell it. Okay. Then we got the nice girl's younger brother. What's like a kid name?
Aiden.
If you can type fast enough in the comments, we'll take your comments.
Oh, okay. Gotta find my keyboard here. How do you spell Aiden? I feel like
A-I-D-E-N.
We already have an A name. We already have Alex.
Okay, so maybe Jaden.
Jackson.
I like.
Oh,
Jackson.
That's another good one. Yeah,
I like Jackson.
I know. I literally just went to top 100 baby names of 2017.
We got to spell it with an
X. Jackson is where it's at. Yeah, Jackson with an X because they have white parents.
Yep.
Okay. And now we got this mean girl name. She's just like a tomboy, like a. She's a good person, but she like stands up for her friend. She's probably the toughest one out of all of them.
Riley.
Ooh, that's a good one. I
do like Riley. Let's go with Riley.
How do we spell it?
So,
right.
Riley.
That'll work. So we've got the nerdy kid and cameraman Alex, his best friend and the loudmouth of the group, Nick.
That doesn't feel right. Whatever.
Right. We got this nice girl named Delilah, her younger brother Aiden, and then we've got Jackson. No, wait, her younger brother Jackson. That's what it was.
Those two.
Nick started typing randomly, so now we have that too.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We got the nice girl younger brother Jackson, and we've got Riley. What about the professor? What do we want to? Does he need a name?
I
think eventually he's gonna need a name, but we don't.
He needs a last name because you know how professors do that.
Yeah,
like I'm Professor.
Who's a teacher you guys liked? Last teacher that you can remember.
Last teacher that I can remember that I actually liked.
Sure.
And at high school?
Doesn't matter. Michael, if you got something, you can go. All right, we've got Professor Tucker.
There we go. I like that.
Professor Tucker, who created this Mad Lab thing with their students, and it turned them into these spores, we find out.
Yes.
Okay, so the story so far is we have a professor in college named Professor Tucker, who, in an attempt to find eternal youth, created a serum. And at first, it seemed like it was working because as they took the serum, they began to get younger. But eventually, they realized that their serum wasn't exactly turning them younger or making their body younger. It was instead eating away at their age, right? Like making them... This is a confusing part. Why does it make... Oh, no. It turned them older. They got it wrong. and it turned them older.
Or you could make it like a thing, kind of like chemotherapy does with cancer patients. It eats the cancer, but it also eats part of you.
Okay.
So
it
it's
like
eating the old parts.
ate away their age. I
Yes.
think
Yeah.
this is where I got confused with the kids, because I think whatever happens to these people is what has to happen to the kids. So if
Something
it
similar,
does make
yeah.
them younger, then it has to make these kids younger too. And I don't think we want that. I think we want the kids to get older.
The kids get older. Yeah. They get older. The people that took the serum get older. But the mechanism of which is
So it was supposed to grant eternal youth, and something went wrong, and instead it made them age rapidly. Right?
okay. Yeah, that'll work.
They aged rapidly and eventually exploded into spores that infected the campus and made it unsafe for anyone to go on, because if you were to somehow get these spores into your body, I don't think you have to breathe them in. I think it has to be some other way, or else it'd be too easy. I think maybe that's why other people have snuck in here and been okay. I think like if you ingest it or you like get a cut and it gets into the cut, I think that's how it has to happen.
I don't know. I feel like the big thing with mold though is that like it's so easy to take in.
Oh yeah.
And that's the fear of it, is like you're just like you have to figure out creative ways to not ingest the mold.
Yeah.
A lot of urban
Because it can
explorers-
be on food, it can be in
There
the
you go.
air, it can
But
be
what I am not so favorable about that is that there's no way for these people to escape it, so there's no hope for the audience. Like there's no hope for any of these kids to escape unharmed if it's like you walk in and you get it.
Or suppose it's like an
Oh.
immunity thing. Like, oh, you have mold in your house.
That
Maybe you
that
do
takes a
little bit
lot to
it.
explain
Yeah.
away. I think
That's a
that
good
if
point.
like this spore has to be ingested, like it can't be, you can't pass it through the respiratory system. Like that's not how you get it. Like it has to like enter your
Could be-
bloodstream somehow.
Like you
whether
touch it
through-
and then you like lick your hand or something. You pick your nose or something.
Or like
That's how it
if
gets
it
into
like gets into their cut. I think that's an interesting way of them getting it.
What if it's like a dust situation where it's like someone goes to like dust something off and blows it off and they blow it off into someone else's face?
There you go.
Yeah, like
Like,
goes into their mouth and like
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
how it happens. I
Yeah.
like
They go,
that.
It would have to be the little brother.
I think the little brother gets cut.
I
think
like
that's
the
'cause
idea.
He's not paying attention.
Yeah. Sorry, this is kind of divergent, but I like
No,
the
go ahead.
idea of the like, because we still have to do like a haunted place, and it just being haunted by the spore isn't really that like doesn't in my mind cover it well enough.
Okay.
I like the idea of the spore turning the little brother older and older and older, and the little brother being the monster that's haunting everything throughout the entire movie.
Oh.
And then
They
it's like
ditch
at
him.
the end, it's like him like as this decrepit old like creature.
I think that's good. I don't think it's at the end, but I think that we want to lead the audience into believing this is a haunted house.
Yeah.
And then find out that's not what you're meant to be afraid of. You're meant to be afraid of this contagion that's happening.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah,
taking
but I
the
like-
youth away from these kids.
But I like the red herring of like the monster being the younger brother that was infected.
I think that's going to be a very large part of this. I think they're going to be running from this monster.
Yeah.
And then eventually they're going to find him. And it'll be like just in time for like them to find the old man and be like, who is this old man? He like gets like one breath out and it's like him saying Delilah or something. He's like, Delilah.
Yeah.
Like
Something like that.
Delilah, help me.
Yeah.
I think there has to be like a moment where this little kid's scared and Delilah, he's like, I don't like want to do this. And Delilah's like, here, like we'll do this thing where I give you this bracelet. This bracelet's gonna keep you safe. And he's like, Delilah, he reaches out, you see the bracelet on this old man's wrist. And then
Oof,
he like
there it
turns
is.
to dust.
Yeah. I like
There
that.
it is.
So I think that's where the old man kind of goes. And you find out like, oh shit, this was so and so. And then I think it's going to be a thing of finding out who else is infected and
Mhm.
realizing that like this infection can control people in the group and force them to do things. I think that's why the old man, quote unquote, was stalking these people. I don't think it's until like the last moments of your life where I think we have to see something leave the old man's body. I think they trap the old man, and I think we see something leave the old man's body, and that's when he like regains all of his memories, and he's like Delilah, you know?
Yeah.
Because
Okay,
I
so
think
that was a lot.
it's got to be mind control of some sort. Does that make sense?
Does it have to be mind control? Because I feel like it could just be they're chasing clout and they're back in this building again. They shouldn't be back in this building, but they're doing the vlog series.
Well,
Okay.
I don't think they ever leave the building. I think this all takes place in one visit.
Oh,
Yeah,
one
this
evening?
is one night, I think.
Okay.
The reason I said mind control is because I think there has to be a reason that somebody else in the group is trying to get people infected. What that reason is, I don't know. If not mind control.
I don't know. I feel like I like the idea of them not necessarily trying to, like, the infection is all like happenstance. Like the infection is something that's going on that is the main source of the problems, but it's not the main focus. Or you're not led to believe it is the main focus throughout the entire thing.
What if these quote unquote spirits, which are like these, whatever it was in the 80s, what if they were laid dormant for a long time, and now that they have like now that they've fed again off of this younger brother, they can now take form,
or they can spread, better yet. Because what's the first thing, like, I don't know, what's that organism called?
Mutate.
Yeah, well, like you have something laying dormant for a while, then it gets food, and then it's like, oh, delicious! Now I'm going to expand.
Yes,
There's an organism that does that. I don't remember the name of it, but like that's when the mold spore starts to go out of the school and maybe into the town a little bit, or like where's?
I think we don't spread it until the end, because I think what the last scene that we're working towards is, like, I think that Alex and Delilah escape, and I think Delilah is bad off, and Alex still thinks he can save Delilah, so Alex takes Delilah to the hospital, and like that's where things start to spread.
There you go, because she already has the mold spore, the infection, and she goes to the hospital, henceforth spreading it more. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe
I'm cool with that.
I think what we're getting stuck on right now is the aging thing.
Yeah.
Because if this were just about like mold spores, we'd have this movie like set in back.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, hey guys, take care of your bathrooms. Make sure you don't get it too wet.
No. But I think infection is such a hot topic right now.
Yeah.
How do we feel about, instead of doing this about aging, it's about infection?
I like the idea of both. I mean,
both can simultaneously exist, I think.
Yeah, like the infection causes aging.
Yeah.
I think that's still true, yes.
Yeah. Like, but I don't know. I feel like if we just do like just standard aging, like that's hitting the nail a little too on the nose. For like if we think about like It Follows, it's not about literally STDs, it's about a metaphor for STDs. So I like the idea of like the monster that's created. Like I like the idea of there being like a monster type creature that is generated from the spores, that is like a grotesque depiction of aging.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, almost like a straw man of like decrepit, hunched over a walker of some sort.
Yeah, where it's like the entire face is both like wrinkled and sunken in, but everything is pulled taut with like thin skin. Where it's like even like the fingernails have like grown out because they've been aged. Yeah, it's like all the hair is like falling out, but there's still like some tufts.
I think that is our monster. I don't think it infects others. I don't think we're gonna go with a thing kind of a movie where it's like infecting each and every one of them and taking them out one by one. I think this is about the kids versus the monster. I think we don't find out until the end that the monster is actually Jackson.
Right.
But when we find it out, that's the moment where it's like the monster has taken Nick, the monster has taken Riley. All that's left are Alex and Delilah, and the monster's grown stronger, but there's still a little hint of Jackson in there.
Yeah.
And that's what finally, like, as he reaches out, like, in that moment of clarity, and Delilah's trying to coax her brother back from wherever this monster has taken it, I think Jackson finally dies off and the monster takes complete control. And that's when Delilah gets like grabbed. And then Alex has to fight to free her. And they end up escaping in the hospital, and then you slowly start to see the first signs that Delilah also has it, and that now it's escaped.
Yeah,
out
and
into the world.
I like that a lot, and I like the idea of like the mind control-esque thing being like an extremely like disgusting projection of like dementia.
Yes, I do like that as well. And I think that instead of the entire class, I think we can take the class out of it. The class leaves. I think this is just the professor. I think the professor is that other entity that Jackson's fighting against.
Yeah.
Or not fighting against. What if he kind of is? If that makes sense.
Like
What if the professor?
I think Jackson and this professor, quote unquote, or this entity that was once the professor, I think they're fighting over Jackson's body.
Oh.
Yeah, like because he has become like a vampiristic entity
who is draining the life out of Jackson in an attempt to reclaim.
Yeah, as almost like a biological parasite.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Okay, I think we got the beginning part and the ending part.
But I also like the idea.
Part?
I like the idea of like at the end, so like they are able to defeat Jackson. Everyone's still sad and like all this stuff. They need to go to the hospital for their wounds and everything. And I like the idea of like them all finding out that they're all infected.
Oh yeah,
I think all that's left is Alex and Delilah at the end.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, but I like the idea of there being like no hope in the end. Like no matter what they did, like they are not saved, and it's just going to like become a bigger problem.
How do we feel about it? Delilah and Alex escaping in this like confusing action thing, and they make it out, and there's this moment where Delilah and Alex kiss, right? And after that, we reveal that Delilah's been infected. So it's like Alex made it out scot-free. Delilah, we thought, made it out scot-free, but Delilah's infected. And for those who like start thinking about it, they're like, oh shit, like Alex ingested it through Delilah when they kissed.
Yeah. I almost like the idea of this happening not like after they did it, but like at a moment where Alex needed like bravery, like she kissed him and like she was already infected. And it's through that moment of like elation that we as the audience get of like, yeah, you can do it, Alex. Where it's like at the we take and twist that moment and like, oh no, that's where shit went wrong.
I like that. So that's like during the final fight, I think we've already revealed that. I think that Riley and Nick, I think they both were also like fed on, but I think it's more of a way of like Jackson is the host, and now to maintain this form that Dr. Tucker has like become through Jackson, he has to continually eat, and like that's the only way he can survive. So we show like him eating Nick, him eating Riley, and then we lure him into a spot with Delilah, and it is Alex's job to then trap Delilah, or to then trap the monster. Once they've successfully trapped the monster, that's when we find out, oh shit, this was Jackson the whole time. This is like what has happened to Jackson. And Delilah has that moment of like weakness where it's like, that's my brother. But I think in that moment where they're trapping this monster, I think right before that, to give Alex the confidence he needs to like go through with this plan that Delilah's come up with, that's when the kiss happens. And I think even earlier on in the movie, I think that Delilah gets like scratched or something by the monster, or maybe she's the one who gets scratched by like a rusted nail, and that's how we find out that like it's already in her.
Yeah, like the whole idea being that like you can like take it in by like any sort of like means. It's just like you don't know what it is that is actually like causing this to happen. It's just something happened to them. So like dust being blown in Jackson's face. Delilah like maybe cutting her foot and then tripping into like onto like a dusty pile of like old school uniforms or something, or having to like, or I don't know, just like, or like I don't know, there's lots of things you could do with that.
I think there's a clear sign that like you're infected. I think that like obviously it's the rapid aging, right?
Yeah,
there you go.
So I think that we start to see signs of that. Like, what's the first thing that happens when you start to get older that is like obvious? And it's like, oh, you've started aging, right? I'm trying to think.
It's a weakness, I guess. Muscle weakness and like.
But it has to be something visual because this is a movie.
Yeah, like point. We could go with wrinkles. We could go with like hair turning gray.
But something that like they can notice on Delilah and be like, oh shit, you're infected.
Oh, gray hair. How about that? That happens. Losing your hair a little bit. And then...
Yeah, but I do kind of like that idea of like, oh, I found a gray hair. And then suddenly all of their hair is gray.
Yeah, it's like, oh, well, I guess I'm aging a little sooner.
Yeah.
Then you blink your
eyes. That's like a moment
whoa.
that we all have where like, oh, I just found a gray hair. And like, that's your freak out moment. It's like, oh, I found a gray hair. I'm getting old. But like, this is literally the freak out moment where it's like, they have a gray hair. They're getting old. The reason I say this is because I think at the end at the hospital, I don't think Delilah makes it out of the college campus. I think instead, they find like the passed out body and the burning campus. Like Alex's passed out body, the burning campus. He's like in a hospital bed. He wakes up, like his parents are there talking to the nurse or whatever. And he like picks up the camera and he just like starts recording for whatever reason that we can work out later. But I think like the mom walks over and she's like rubbing his head and like the nurse is talking. And then she like looks down and does that mom thing where she like plucks a hair and she's like, look, I found a gray hair. You must be getting older. And like the realization sets in, and that's our fade to black moment.
No,
or that's our like cut to black.
Yeah,
where it's like, oh shit, Alex has a gray hair.
Yeah, I love it when horror movies just end with like everything went to shit. Like you giving you that moment of like, oh, cool, they made it out alive, everything's good, but actually everything's worse than it was before.
Yeah.
Oof.
Okay, we got 5 minutes left. I'm gonna give a brief summary of what all this movie is. I don't think we're going to record a trailer. I think this is going to be it. Because there's just a lot to try to fit into a trailer, you know?
Right.
Especially an audio-only trailer. So this is the story that we came up with. So it starts
in a world.
Okay, yeah, give me the in the world, Michael.
Yeah, Michael.
In a world.
And then Nick, you have to edit in like scary music under this.
Okay.
All right. Just tell me when you need it.
Do it.
In a world.
Back in the 1980s, there was a doctor by the name of Professor Tucker, PhD, who was attempting to come up with a formula to grant eternal life, being inspired by the Philosopher's Stone, the ever chase for youth, and couldn't get funding. Her class completely abandoned her. I think it's a girl. I just decided.
Yep. Okay. All right.
And
like that,
she, instead of finding a test subject, she tests this potion on herself. And we don't know what happens after that. Instead, we open up to a found footage through an iPhone of a kid waking up. He turns on his phone, starts recording. He's got bedhead. He turns it around, and we see a pile of sheets on the floor, and it's his friend who he kicks. And he's like, come on, man, wake up. Like, we don't got all day. He gets up. He walks over to his computer. He checks his YouTube account, his YouTube views, stuff like that. And his friend comes over and goes, how we doing today? He's like, oh, we got like a certain number of views, so-and-so. Like, we're doing good, but we're going to do great once we do this like big Halloween scare. And he's like, all right, well, get ready. And like, there's that jovial joking and like bullying that you do with your friends.
Mm-hmm.
Cut to them riding their bikes. They ride up to a house, and on the porch, we're introduced to the rest of the gang of characters, including Delilah, this very nice girl, her best friend, whose name is Riley, who's this kind of tougher, meaner, like more thick-skinned girl, and her little brother, Jackson, who is like timid, and he's like playing on his phone or playing on his Switch or something. And they're all getting ready to go. And Delilah looks back at her brother, and we hear like them talking, and they're like, yeah, let's just bring him. He's like, really? I can come? Like, thank you guys so much. He like picks up his bike. It's still got like training wheels or something. Like, he's young. Right. So we show them all riding their bikes. The sun's kind of getting low, and they ride up to a public library. At the public library, they pull out this like old dusty map. They unfurl it. It's the entire town that they live in. Right. We'll call it like West Chase or something. The town of West Chase. Sure.
Yeah.
We'll put in Maryland, because that's where Stephen King puts all of his stuff. So
everything scary happens in Maryland or Maine.
I think it's Maine. I think Maine is where he puts all his stuff. So this is West Chase, Maine, where this is happening. They unfurl the map. They're like pointing out places. They're discussing how like we already did that last year. We did that 2 years ago. No, we did that 3 years ago. We're running out of places. There's only one place left. He's like, no, we're not going there. And Jackson's like, why not? This like little boy's like, why not? Why not go there? You guys been to all these other places. And that's when they tell the tale of like the haunted school and the bad experiments that happened and the doctor who went crazy and like killed all of her students. We don't know what's true and what's not, but it's all to scare this little kid. And I think all of this is happening through Nick, who's like trying to scare the crap out of this little kid. He's the loudmouth who doesn't shut up. And I think Riley's the one who shuts him up. I think in this moment, we plant the fear that stops him from going in and puts the bracelet on his arm. In the next scene where they are out in front of this college and they're trying to convince Jackson to go in with them because it's too late now. They can't turn back. They can't take Jackson back home. So Delilah gives her prized bracelet to Jackson saying that it's going to keep him safe. Right. And I think that's a weight that is important for the ending of this movie. Delilah promises that Jackson's going to be safe. So they go in, they're exploring. I think Nick like blows on something and blows dust right into Jackson's face. And we get that constant like where he's like blowing it out of his mouth and stuff. And then after a while, Jackson wanders off and we're left wondering like, where did Jackson go? And now the search for Jackson begins in this haunted, spooky house where we believe like this ghost of this old professor is. And there are a couple of jump scares here and there. There's a lot that needs to be worked out visually in these scenes. So not a lot that we can like write right now for plot purposes, but we eventually find this like figure. It's like old and grotesque and doesn't know who it is or where it is, but it's like attacking the kids and slowly one by one picking off these kids. And as it kind of continues on, they're picked off until it's just Nick and Delilah who come up with a plan to trap this monster and hopefully kill it. And in being too afraid to do this, Delilah's desperate. She wants to find her brother. She wants to make sure she promised her brother that he would stay safe. She's trying to convince Alex on board and kisses him to give him that inspiration. And they eventually trap the monster. As it's trapped, they get it in actual good light and are able to kind of see remnants of what is left of Jackson's clothes. And most importantly, an arm reaching out and this old, frail voice who can only remember how to say one word, and that's Delilah. Like, Delilah, Delilah. And like the hand reaches out and we see the bracelet and Delilah's face is just like absolutely petrified and upset as she realizes that the promise that she made to her brother, she didn't keep him safe. And she wants to fix him. She wants to help. Like she wants to get him out of here. And in doing so, she's like crying and like desperately trying to like free her brother who like clearly still remembers her. And Alex is like begging like, no, please don't do it. Like, don't. And I think in that moment, Delilah is taken and eaten. And we see like the full on, like as this movie is coming to its absolute climax, like what this beast has been doing to these kids, like the old face of Jackson like hinges open and like just like straight in the whole kid as it like slams back down and starts looking around. And I think Alex starts to run and the chase goes on and it's hard to follow because this is found footage, but Alex eventually I think trips on something, cuts something, and then makes it out. And that's when like somehow a fire gets started and the campus begins to burn down behind Alex. And the fire department shows up and some cops show up and they find Alex. Alex passes out. The camera goes black as it like tumbles to the ground. And the next time it's picked up, we're like in a nice, clean, white hospital room. And Alex has his phone again and it's recording, but he's like, it's the front facing camera. And he's like trying to make it stop. Like he was trying to find the footage. He's like, no, I swear it's like right here. Hold on. I accidentally started my camera. Like, just hold on. I have the footage. I could show you what happened. And like the camera rests as like the nurse like comes in and the mom's like, just hold on, just settle down. Just like calm down. I'm just happy you're okay. Like we'll figure this out. Just let's listen to the doctor. And the doctor's like, other than a couple of bumps and scratches, like not much is wrong with Alex. He should be good to go. Like in the next couple of days, we're going to run some blood tests just to make sure, because he got a nasty scrape on his way out. Just because there's a lot of mold in there, we want to make sure that like he's safe. And they take samples of his blood, which I think is how like we're going to allude to this thing's going to keep spreading. And the mom is like, see, you're going to be okay. And she like plucks a hair and it's gray, which is like now our well-known key to know that like you've been infected is if you have this gray hair, which at some point Delilah had. And that's why she wanted to like kill this beast, because she knew that she wasn't going to make it out.
Yeah.
So we find out that he has this gray hair, cut to black, roll credits. That's the movie.
We did it.
Yeah.
And we only did it with 4 more minutes than we meant to.
Well, to be fair, most of that was all the synopsis.
Yes. You're right. Guys, I think that's pretty good.
I think it's pretty good too.
It's solid.
I love the idea of a monster being an analogy or a metaphor for like aging.
Yeah, and I think M. Night just released a movie that did that called Old, but it's not anything like this. So Chloe
ours is better.
Chloe's been listening this whole time. Let's bring Chloe up and see what she thinks about what we've created. I think it's fair to get her opinion.
Yeah.
Chloe, good.
Hello.
Hi.
Good.
Hey, what do you think of our movie?
This is pretty good. I like it. I would watch it.
Great.
I like that the character that you named after yourself got to kiss the pretty girl.
I didn't name that character. Nick did.
All right.
It was a split-second decision.
I said
nerdy. You got to kiss the girl, though.
I said nerdy kid, and he said Alex.
I mean,
we missed the chance to name the main character Toll House.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, the main character's name is Toll House. I'm sorry, guys. I know I just said Alex a whole bunch, but in your continuity in your head, that guy's name now is Toll House. Sorry. It always has been Toll House. We just didn't know it until just now. His name is Toll House. That is fact.
I'll go back in. Every time you say Alex, I'll be like, Toll
House.
Or just edit out Alex and edit in this. Ready? Toll House. Toll House. Toll House. There, that'll give you a couple to work with.
There's some tolls in this house.
No, but seriously, with all the elements that you had to weave in there, I think you made a really good story.
Did we hit them all? I wasn't checking. I hope we did.
We like
the only one that
hit a few, but like
the only one
I think it got away from the vampire thing. It became like a different story, kind of.
Yeah, it was more like a vampiric entity, not like a vampire in another.
Yeah, not in like the traditional like it may suck your blood kind of sense.
No, but I think that we still kind of worked it in, so I'm counting it. The let's split up happens in the middle part that we didn't get a lot of the meat from, but it does happen for sure. I think for three
cliche, or what was it called? Trope.
Yeah.
That was the thing. We got the trope. We got the YouTuber trope.
Yeah.
Like, what? Check.
I think for just 3 who's a what's it to talk about entertainment every week, I think that was pretty solid, guys.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like
happy Halloween, folks.
And 2 guys who don't really watch horror movies.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
We're horrific.
I think that's pretty good for we had a lot of hoops to jump through. I think we got through them
we
all.
did.
Okay.
Whew.
So if you liked our movie, let us know. There are a couple of different ways you can do that.
Please go film it.
If you want to make this movie and you want to
be
pay
cool.
for it, reach out to us.
If you want to make this movie, give us money. But there are a couple of different ways you can get in contact with us. The first and tried and truest way is to email us. Our email is entertainthis@gmail.com. You can also go to our website. It's entertainthis.net. Scroll all the way to the bottom. There's a little questionnaire there that you can fill out. Say whatever you want to us in that questionnaire. We read all of them. I've read every single one so far. So that's fun. Hey, it's lit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's great. So there are other ways you can reach out, like on Twitter, we are entertain_this, or you can find us on Instagram, we're entertain this podcast, all one word. We also have a Facebook page. It's podcast entertain this. You can find us there. There's just a lot. You can also find us on all your streaming platforms. And if you would be so kind, leave us a review on iTunes. Say that you like our show. Say that you thought this was scary. Say that you like the Halloween spooktacular that we just did. And we also have a YouTube channel. It's Entertain This. We put all of our video episodes up there. Be awesome if you guys could like and subscribe and click the bell notification to get, notifications every time that we upload, which is often. So that would be all. That's all. That's it. And anyway, here's the closing line. Are you guys ready? I have to bring back my character from the opening to close it. Where's my hatchet? Hold on. I got it.
He's gonna do it full circle. Here we go.
Entertain us so we can scare you, and you can entertain this. See you next Halloween. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. This episode of Entertain This was written by Nick Mustakangas, Michael Savoya, Chloe Price, and Alex Steele. Our theme music is Rushable by Aaron Spencer, with interstitial music by DJW. Tune in every Friday for new episodes, and thanks for listening.